Well, hello, everybody. David Gerlitz with the DavidGModelCitizen.com podcast with my buddy Kevin Crowley and my producer, Steve Mathis. We're coming to you tonight with a lot on our plate, a lot to talk about. I took a little bit of time away from the computer this week. I just had too much crap going on to really be able to concentrate on the important side of the industry, which seems to piss me off even more every single day. Kevin, I'm sorry, Kevin. I need adult beverages. I need sedatives. I need Benadryl.
Massage.
Massage. I need, every day it's something else, and it just is getting so ridiculous. And to watch the news, everything that's on my thread and my feed that I open it up to see what's going on, it just gets me so annoyed. And I'm feeling pretty upset with the fact that this industry is imploding. And it's happening more and more every day. I talked about it on the last podcast. I believe I was talking about how this is really an almost perfect storm, which is a symbiotically and seemingly bulletproof financial ecosystem for big tobacco, public health, and big pharma.
Yep.
And then on top of that, you got the Truth Initiative, which is really freaking pissing me off. And those people from the original American Legacy Foundation back in the 90s, who now changed in 2015 to the Truth Initiative. They came out this past week. Let's start the show with that.
Okay.
I'm sure you read about it, Kevin, right?
Yep.
They came out and said that, you know what? We believe that vaping is so much more safer than smoking combustible tobacco. And but what they did say was our science proves it, but we're going to promote it as a cessation product.
Yep.
But the FDA will have a list of demands by them that the vaping industry and the FDA will do. Do you know what those demands are? I think you do. I think some of the listeners may know, but they're going to do whatever they can to keep it as hard for a smoker to quit, because they want to ban all flavors. They want to ban all online sales. They want to tax the shit out of it.
Yeah, they want it taxed.
They want it taxed above and beyond what they're even doing in New Jersey, which we talked about last week, 10 cents per milliliter tax, not to mention the monthly floor tax that the government of New Jersey wants to get, along with other states that are going to follow suit and do the same damn thing.
Yep.
But now you get this, optimism, this cautious optimism, from the Truth Initiative of the American Legacy Foundation, or whatever the hell you want to call these idiots anymore.
Liars.
Yeah. Well, the Truth Initiative, that's just a wolf in sheep's clothing. Now they want to tax the hell out of it. They want to make sure that the PMTA process, the pre-marketing tobacco application, is even stricter than it was before. So they're saying on one hand they want it taxed, but they even admit they don't know what the risk factors are. They don't know how bad it is for you or how good it is. So why the hell are they doing this? Well, they're doing it because of, again, the moral indignation that they
morally we don't know enough, but we know enough not to do anything.
And we're
but
smarter
tax.
than you, because you're stupid assholes, and you're not going to be able to make a decision on your own. So we don't know what the fuck we're doing, but we're going to do it anyway. So these people at the American Legacy Foundation can kiss my ass, along with his friend Matt Myers at Campaign for Tobacco Free. I just found some letters from Matt Myers today. I was going through my old the letters from Matt said, we got to talk. We got more information that we want to send to you. And this was back in 1998, 7, something like that.
Before the MSA?
Before the MSA, yeah.
Oh, these are historical.
Oh, yeah, they're historical. They're along right up there with the same letters that I got from Claude Teagues, who was the RJ Reynolds marketing manager, who was, sending me stuff that, I was doing a good job because we were marketing to the kids and we were getting the demographic that there was a definite test for, and I was doing my job. So I started pulling all these things together, and I started to want to say, hey, I'm not going to be a part of the, lawsuit against the FDA, because the industry doesn't call me for anything. So they certainly aren't going to call me to do any testifying in the FDA hearings, when they start coming together with their disclosure lists and their depositions and all that, because they don't know what to do with me now. They didn't know what to do with me then. So
Yeah.
I just work with the people that are going to respect me, like my friends at Pinnacle, Kevin and Jessica Lacey, and Trent Struck and Victor down in Vapes Gone Wild, the two people who really want to sponsor us and back us. And that's why I love, having my name with them as far as my David G series with e-liquids, as well as the 5 flavors of CBD, which is coming along really, really well. And there's a lot happening there. But tonight it's more of a show about why we were in this position, because I think everybody who's going to start listening to this, if they want to listen and get information, you're going to see me start hitting you, Kevin, with information that you can back check, and you can, go through the back door and you can fact check for me, because everything I've said, it's true. I've had it, vetted for the last 30 years. So we're going to talk about a lot of that tonight, if you can. And the 3 stages of truth remains the same. And right now we got another problem with the $5 billion in defaults from municipal bonds. Which were used to securitize the state's, future receipts from the MSA. They're coming due and they're panicking, which is why I think a lot of people in the industry, including, Tony Abood and Greg Conley. Greg Conley knows, because Greg's a pretty smart guy. Tony Abood, I don't know him at all at the AVA. I mean, at the VTA.
VTA, yeah.
But I count on Greg Conley to do anything. If I make a mistake, he's going to certainly tell me. But he was asked to remove himself from the NJVRC, which is the New Jersey Vaping Rights Coalition. I was calling it the Retail Coalition last week, I guess, because that's what they were at first, and I haven't really talked to them other than they just screwed up the state of New Jersey, and the vape shops are really going to have to go under right now, because they're just decimated. 66 or 10 cents per milliliter on a 60 ml bottle. You add $6 or $7 to an already $12 bottle, or if it's $12 tax and then floor tax, they're not going to buy my liquid or anybody. So they're going to go online. So if the FDA has their way with all of these new changes they want to make, even before the 2022 deeming regulation date that's coming up, and now we're going to have the reduction of nicotine, and now the banning of the flavors, which is going to happen.
You think the nicotine the reduction will?
I think that's going to take a lot longer than the flavors. I think the flavor ban is going to be even more significant, because, even when we had I think we had the closing on the FDA, what was it, ANPRM or something? What the hell was that?
ANPR, I think.
Huh?
ANMPR?
ANPRM, the advance notice for a proposed rulings. That's what it is. Okay? Yeah.
Stopped the 19th.
Stopped on the 19th at midnight. And I think they had 525,288 comments.
Yeah.
But we don't know how many of those comments came from the Truth Initiative or the Campaign for the Tobacco-Free Kids, because they're not going to tell us.
Or Bloomberg.
Huh?
I heard Bloomberg from Carl Phillips. So.
And then they did that bot thing where everybody just started sending it in up to a certain date, where they're just not anonymous. They were just
pulling an FCC.
Name.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and so I talked to Tony about, and I don't know if he wants me to tell you everything, but the site with CASA and VTA was genius, and I mentioned it to him because I had a question privately, and I said, "What is the declaration, and what does that do?" And he answered me completely as bluntly as he could. They kept everything. If the FDA says, "Well, we're gonna ditch this," those comments are saved separately, completely. So they're not gone. There's no way they can print them up and send them right to them. So
okay,
I was really happy about that.
Well, we just don't know what's with 525,000 comments, and we have 9 million vapors, and we can only get 500,000 if they're all our vapors. It's a shame. It's sad that we have to beg people to help us save their industry, but that's why this show and the podcast is going to be different from all the other shows I did last week. With Mike Peterson on Smoke Free Radio, who I adore. Along with Smoke Free Radio, the good people there. But it's also going to be the kind of show that we have got to create and raise a level of awareness with the scandal and the corruption that is really being forced down our throats. We need to expose it, and these other groups aren't going to. Demetrius will.
Yeah.
Everybody else is trying to play it safe. Mike Peterson is an educator. He really wants to get the word out in Ohio.
Yep.
Now we got these shows are coming up, and the shows aren't going to do anything for me and for the podcast, only because the people who go there are still going for the same reason that they went 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And that is to find a newer, innovative device. And I don't know how many devices we need, but that's what gets me to my story tonight, guys. I got yelled at today.
Oh, good.
because I had recommended to somebody that, once you quit smoking and you start vaping, there's nothing says that you have to keep vaping.
Correct.
There's absolutely nothing that says you have got to keep vaping. You've got to increase your mods. You've got to get more and more devices. There's more.
I'm
if you
afraid.
want to, that's fine. But everybody's now saying, "Well, gee, you're promoting people to quit vaping." No, I'm promoting people to do what they friggin' want to do. And now I'm getting yelled at because I'm saying, hey, if you quit smoking, vaping helps you quit, and you want to vape for a year until you say, I'm tired of this too, and I don't want to I want to get my health back in all areas. I don't want to be married to this vape device for wherever I go, a cell phone in one hand and a vape mod in another. That's the point I was trying to make.
Wow.
And then when you see people in driving with the vape mod in one hand and their cell phone, and then they got the earplug, and then they're trying to drive. And, we have a law that says you can't, talk on the phone and drive. And pretty soon it's going to be the same thing with the
with vapes.
handset with vapes. You start. So I'm just saying, all I said was, if you want to quit vaping, quit vaping.
Yeah.
And everybody, they just got up in arms. What? I thought you were a friend of the. I said, shut up. You don't know what the hell you. Think about what I just said.
Wow, Dave.
If you want to quit smoking, quit. If you want to quit vaping, quit. You don't have. No one says you have to vape for the rest of your life.
Right.
And initially, in 2008, 2009, it was to help people quit smoking. It was an aid. It was an alternative to smoking, but no one expected it to become the culture that it did, to where now we've got a $5.9 billion industry with 10 million vapors just in this country. Forget Canada. I'm not even going to Canada. I won't. This is probably the last time I'm going to mention Canada. Okay. Canada can kiss my ass. Okay. On Fifth Avenue and Broadway, because they've done nothing. Okay. They're going to have their, I guess it's a vape jam September 15th, which I got invited to. And I stopped. My line's not even Canada. I took it off the market.
Right.
I don't want to work in Canada. They're worse than we are. And plus they talk funny. Well, they do. And I love them, but they just, there's nothing going on in Canada that I can help them with. They didn't want my help before. I offered. They didn't want it. The Canadian Vaping Association is now the Cannabis Vaping Association because of the legalities of cannabis, which is fine. I have no problem with that. And Sean Casey, I like him a lot. And, Daniel Marianne from Lavap Shop and all the other people up there who have been really fighting for the Canadians with Bill 44, and that failed, and the stores closed in Montreal. And then they built 175 or 174, whatever it was, 175 in Ontario. That came out, and they took over. Vaping decimated there, and then the government took over with Bill S5, and now it's just a matter of it's like our Obamacare. You don't know what's in it until you read it, and it's 100,000 pages long, and I don't have the time or the desire to fight with these people up there. I'm not even going to fight with the agencies that we have down here in organizations. They know me, and I probably am not going to do any more shows other than the 3 I'm committed to, unless they're going to really do some honest to goodness activism. And if they just want me there as for shits and giggles, and if they just want me there to be a pole dancer, and I'm not doing it. But I'm going to Richmond. I'm going to go to, I think, Bowling Green, Kentucky. I'm going to be Lawrenceville, Indiana. I don't know about Denver. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going to be with this, at this point, because I don't know how you are, Kevin, but I'm just pretty well frustrated with the whole industry. Not that I don't like these people. I do. I really, really do like them, but they're not doing what I wish they had done. And it's not like I didn't leave crumbs for them to follow, Kevin.
No, you were already talking about it in 2013, I think, or 14.
Yeah, and
the one
people,
I found.
And I'm getting tired of telling my story over and over and over again, which is why I want a following. I want people who already know who I am, and then they get excited by being told who I am by somebody else who respects what I've done and what I'm trying to do,
Yeah.
with your help
Yeah.
and with Steve's production. And how we're going to market this show and how we're going to get people to follow it is going to be based on our own Truth Initiative, and that's exposing the liars at the Truth Initiative, which used to be the American Legacy Foundation. So
Yep.
I keep saying this and I keep getting into these rants because I don't want to go spending a lot of time with the same bullshit that I get tired of every day when I wake up in the morning. I wake up in the morning and you read that stuff about the China pilots. The one guy was vaping and it descended 21,000 feet. And because they said he was smoking an e-cigarette, that's what it said. I read 3 times.
Yeah, smoking.
He was smoking an e-cigarette, which there is no such thing.
No.
Okay. And he turned down one of the air control things, and then he turned off the air conditioning instead. But then it worked its way back up, and they landed without incident, other than the fact it hit the newspapers that e-cigarettes caused the plane to descend 20.
Absolutely. That's what happened.
Just like that kid, the 14-year-old. What's about that 14 update on the 14-year-old that we heard a month or 2 or 3 months ago died from vaping in the bathroom or something?
Yeah, there was 3 initial that I just found and I used on my blog last week. The headlines are child dies after vaping 2 days later. All the bullshit that we always see. And 6 months later, or 7 months, it turns out he had a stroke. Now they walked in. I don't blame the parents. I don't have a thing to say about it because if I was a parent, I would depend upon professional medical advice that they were given. He was there, to my understanding, like 6 or 8 hours. They gave him some potassium and they sent him on his way. They took him to a different hospital. They did a brain scan and he died. Now, having a stroke at a 14-year-old, a child, when you walk in the ER, you need to assess what the problem is. Now, if there's an e-cigarette within 4 miles, of course that's the problem, and nicotine's the problem, right? But if they're professionals and they thought it was a nicotine overdose, pretty simple Google, Kevin can even do it, and you see what the symptoms are, you see how quickly they dissipate, and you move on to the next thing. Ooh, it might have been something else. So this kid tragically died for no friggin' reason, in my opinion.
And then you get, my daughter's a mortician, and she tells me that every month they lose 3 or 4 young people to opiates, cocaine and heroin and fentanyl, and yes, we do talk about it once in a while, and that doesn't get the headlines that a vaping disaster causes.
No, of course not.
And I think we should be used to that because it still goes back to what we always talk about, and that is the 3 stages of truth. First it's ridiculed, then it's violently opposed. Yeah. So we're violently being opposed now at every turn. If a kid drinks the e-liquid that a stupid parent leaves out on his or her kitchen table and he or she dies at 2 years of age, then it's the e-liquid's fault, not the parent.
And that was actually nicotine, not fluid. That was raw nicotine. Yeah.
Yeah, but you don't hear that. You don't hear that. You just hear that the industry is well on its way to be swirling around the toilet before it finally gets flushed down, because the American public will not stand for a device that will now obviously be a gateway to teenagers, especially the Juul epidemic, which now I guess there's 10 gazillion kids juuling.
There are.
I talked to a lot of young people. They don't know what I'm talking about. They've never heard of it. So, as you always say in your blog, Kevin, Campaign for Tobacco Free Kids is the best advertiser for Juul.
They are.
Still. They are.
They still are.
And so is the Truth Initiative. And the Truth Initiative is even more comical because of what happened with the American Legacy Foundation. And do you know that the Truth Initiative net worth is $900 million a year?
I saw that.
That is the net worth of the Truth Initiative, and all they're trying to do is replace the American Legacy Foundation to be the funder, not Thunder, but the funder for Campaign for Tobacco Free Kids. But if you look at the Truth Initiative's bylaws, they're not allowed to lobby, they're not allowed to raise funds, they're not allowed to donate, but they do every day.
I have a question. Where do they get their money?
Where do they get their money?
How do they get their money?
From the MSA.
Is that from smoking?
and from smoking,
Really?
and from taxes.
Imagine that.
Yeah, imagine. Can you believe that? And people who are listening to this are saying, "Wow, I
Nobody
never knew
knows.
that." Well, nobody knows because nobody reads the shit that's important. Just like the seven top international tobacco control experts, they're prompting, and this is fair. I'm going to be equally fair whenever I can.
Okay.
The top tobacco control experts to the FDA they have studies of e-cigs suggest that they are more beneficial than they're harmful, and that goes all the way. That goes to the investigators include, I think his name, David Levy. He's from Georgetown University. Michael Cummings, my friend, I used to work with Michael Cummings at Roswell Park Cancer Institute.
Okay.
Andrea Volanti and Ray Niora, who's a PhD, and David Abrams. They went from the Schroeder Institute, and they started working they work for the Truth Initiative.
Okay, Abrams, I knew. Wasn't the departing from Truth from Abrams because of the corruption?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, but that they were a part of it. Okay.
Right.
And because they were concerned that the FDA has asserted its right to regulate cigarettes, and they were focusing solely on the possibility that e-cigarettes and other vape nic products might act as a gateway to cigarette use for kids. It's always about the kids, but nobody looks at the 10 million anecdotes of people who are no longer smoking or dual using.
Right.
To be fair, there's a lot of vapors who do dual use, which I have. It's not my business. It's their business. But if they're finding ways to cut down on combustible tobacco, they got my vote. Yeah. They get my handshake.
And originally, I have to interrupt you. Originally, if I knew nothing and I saw vaping and I'd hear the words, well, it could lead to smoking, it's a believable statement. It sounds reasonable, but there is no proof. They have nothing.
If you start with a device with flavors like e-liquids, that's why it's so important that flavors remain. Now, I don't know if it's important that flavors remain with 27,642 different flavors. I don't know if that's the answer.
Right.
Or can we go under one umbrella and come up with an industry that will have 100 flavors that people are going to like, because we've really screwed it up. We didn't need the FDA to F it up for us.
Right.
We did that ourselves with the crappy, shitty labels and the crappy liquids, and everything has the word premium on it. And now we have to put everything on our labels as a warning that nicotine is addictive. And, I mean, that's all fine. I want to know what I'm putting into my body every time I put something. If I go to a store, I want to make sure that the inspectors have checked the bathrooms and that there's no disease.
Of course.
Reasonable regulation is fair and required, but what's not reasonable is to accept these bad laws, without doing anything about it. It's our duty to fight these bad laws that are being made by bad people. And the bad people are the people who are getting influenced by the 7 top tobacco control experts saying, stop slanting e-cigarettes to the negative side.
Right.
You got it. Right. That's why they're starting to come back with this cautious optimism, just like the American
Cancer
Truth Initiative and American Cancer Society. But they say it with tongue in cheek because now they have to remind themselves that they lied for so long. Now they're caught. They're caught.
Oh,
they
got
to backpedal.
Yeah.
And that's what my story has been from 1988 when I quit smoking publicly and came out against the tobacco executives and the tobacco company, which is why I hate them now, which is why people got upset with me when I got upset with Derek Yock from the Foundation for a Smoke-Free World, because I really didn't understand what his core mission was. I do now. Okay. Right. And I understand what Aaron Biebert is doing with his series with Derek Yock and the Foundation for a Smoke-Free World. Why? Well, because, we got most smokers. We're down at 20% in this country of smokers. As we talk about it all the time, it stalls at 20%. But then you got other countries the biggest countries that are smokers are in Montenegro and Bosnia, Greece, Russia,
India.
I think, India,
China.
Ukraine, Moldova. And that's where Aaron is going to talk to these people. But what good it's going to do, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know if a series is going to raise the level of awareness worldwide or global. That's his job. And he's a good filmmaker and he's passionate. And I sent him a note today and he's responded because he's in Brazil now.
Sweet.
And I'm not a part of that series. I have to do my own stuff, and that way I don't have to feel like I'm handcuffed. and I can bring on the guests that I want to have on the show that are going to be important enough for us to spend an hour with and talk to get information to the public. But if nobody's going to listen and nobody wants to hear the truth, then we're going to have to backpedal and say, hey, we can't afford to do this. Otherwise, it just becomes a bitch fest. And I'm not going to do that. If I can't educate with reasons what we're talking about, make people aware of what's happening and then suggest, here's what we do. Well, here's what I'm going to do tonight. I suggest that we all, you, me, Steve, we start really looking after the facts and the research data that I have. I have the paperwork, I have the memos, I have the notes, and we send them to David Levy and Jeffrey Fong and Abrams and what's the other guy's name? Ray Nyora. I think he's a PhD as well.
Yeah.
From Truth Initiative, Jeffrey. I mean, all these people, Ron Borland and Mike Cummings and Dave Levy, these people who did at one time, ask the FDA to back off, stop slanting it to the negative side because we're going to have a bad reputation. We've already put papers out for the last 10 years that we've known, or 8 years, about e-cigarettes that don't come anywhere close to the damage that you're trying to make e-cigarettes out to be.
Right.
So they're trying to work within their own system and work with their buddies and their compatriots and their associates without throwing them under the bus. But it's getting too late. These people are out of their mind. They're wackos.
They're exaggerations. They're shaming, guilt, persuasion, exaggerations are insane.
It's an intentional thing now.
Yeah.
It's not even an accident. It's not even that they're not misspeaking like Donald Trump did in Russia.
Wouldn't.
Did you hear about that, Steve? When Donald Trump misspoke, he's probably on mute. Yeah, well, he misspoke, and I'm going to probably misspeak once in a while as well. But, these people are not misspeaking.
No, they're not.
Campaign for our truth. These people are freaking liars.
Now,
okay?
We got Tom Miller's Iowa Attorney General. He's kind of partnering with Juul, but he was also with the Truth Initiative, and I don't believe he is any longer. He's another one that was in my head for you to show those things to.
Well, these people don't want to talk to me. Number one, I don't have a suit anyway. I don't have a sport coat.
Oh, I'll get you a tie.
No, I don't wear a tie. I'll wear a bow tie. Okay, and if Steve Mathis can hook me up with a bow tie, and he can put a computer. He got me a new computer, so he can hook me up. I can look like a real nerd. Then and plus, he's using my Pinnacle beard oil now because I haven't seen him with the beard oil from Pinnacle, but he says he looks like real hot. He looks like a hottie.
Sweet.
And do you have a beard, Kevin? I forget. You had some growth, right?
I go back and forth. The wife likes the beard, so I usually keep it.
So you're bi beard, right?
Yeah,
you're kind of like bi. Yeah, I have mine now. It's really white. I still look like the 68th most interesting man in the world.
That's right.
Well, I'm sorry, 67. One died. So now I'm 67th most interesting man in the world. And
you got to excel somehow.
I got to excel. And then my flavors are doing well for the CBD, which I use it every day. And we just did some commercials for Vape Radio for Pinnacle CBD and my flavors. And you can get special deals if you want to be wholesalers of CBD, it's absolutely wonderful for me.
Yeah.
I can't live without it. I love it and I recommend it, but we haven't even launched really yet. The website's still up and running, but it's very soft launch.
Right.
And that's why I want it, because I want it to be through word of mouth and through testimonies and not just a real hard hitting marketing campaign. I did that with RJ Reynolds and Winston, and look where it got me.
Yep.
It got me to kill 430,000 people every year being part of it.
Yeah.
So along with my e-liquids, and I don't know who's going to distribute my e-liquids. I don't even have a distributor yet. We're doing everything through Vapes Gone Wild out of Newnan, Georgia, but everybody loves it. I talk to. I think there's a couple people don't like the tobacco flavor because they don't want anything to do with tobacco, so they have to convert over. I like it too.
Yeah,
I like it, and I like the coffee. But I'm not a real fruit kind of guy. I don't need it, and I think that's what people. I think that's where I stand different from all the people who are screaming flavors. Take away the flavors. We'll never be able to vape. The world's going to end if we take away.
Right.
I think the people who smoked for 30, 40, 50 years like we did, 20 years or whatever it was.
35 odd, yeah.
What
Yeah.
did we smoke? We smoked tobacco.
Tobacco.
And menthol. That was it. Tobacco. And so now we got this
And we
new
liked it.
flavors. And the thing is, the e-liquids and e-cigarettes and devices were made by smokers for smokers, and the government didn't have their hand in anything that we chose to do. Okay, I just think, and if people are going to get pissed off at me because I say, hey, if you're smoking and you want to quit and vaping is your alternative, and you finally get a liquid that you like, and you finally get a device that's fits your needs, and you don't have to be driving down a highway vaping big clouds.
Yeah.
And then if you want to cut down to where you're only vaping on weekends, then do it.
Yeah.
No one says you have to vape forever. And that's where people get angry with me. Like, well, you know why? Because the people now who are the leaders in our industry, the millionaires, the ones that are making lots of money, and a lot of them are friends of mine.
Liquid,
God bless them.
Liquid
God
Gold.
bless them for making,
Liquid Gold. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're making a lot of money, but now they're the leaders, and now they're so oversaturated with the millions of different millions of people who are saying, hey, I can make my own liquid.
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah.
It's so easy to do.
Yeah.
But what you can't do is you can't ingest liquid when it's not coming from a clean lab and it hasn't been sanitized and it hasn't been purified. Otherwise, we're just giving fuel and ammunition to our enemies. And
Right.
that's what happened in the beginning, as everybody knows. And
Yeah.
we don't have to spend time talking about that, and because this is not vaping 101.
That's
This is not
right. That's the
we
manufacturing and production part of the regulations that should be in place. That I
Yeah.
agree with.
of course.
That's
Yeah,
it.
Of course. I think we're a little over the top with some of the regulations, just like the Truth Initiative and American Cancer says, yeah, we believe it's better for you, and we don't know how bad it is, but in the meantime, we're going to make it almost impossible for you to get it. Okay.
Right.
We're going to make it almost impossible for the people manufacturing the e-liquid, manufacturing the devices, manufacturing the warehouses to store the stuff to get 40,000 bottles over to another country, because the people there want to quit as well, like Australia.
Yep.
Australia has to import because there's no nicotine allowed unless you get a 3-month
And
supply.
The,
Okay.
the fun
And-
part about all this is, because I'm on Twitter with so many people, if I want nicotine, all I got to do is tweet, hey, I need nicotine and I can have it. There will be a black market. There's no question or doubt in my mind. And that's not
Of course.
safe because two
No.
reasons. It's not safe for me, in my opinion. And it's not safe for the smoker who thinks, well, you know what? I'd like to try that. Oh, wait a minute. I got to go to the black market. Now they don't want it. So now they're going to smoke.
Right.
So there's so many,
If
there's so many.
if I
angles
was an
in this.
alcoholic, and I was drinking my vodka straight out of
Yeah.
the bottle,
Yeah.
and you can't get that, you'll find something else.
You will.
Okay.
Yeah.
And exactly the same thing with e-liquid. I like tobacco. I like coffee. I like something that really makes me feel grown up.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't need all the flavors, but I understand why people are so caught up with the flavors, because they find it to be a culture for them. And we talk about it all the time.
They find it because when you I didn't know this, when you stop smoking, you can taste and smell. It's amazing. I went to Taco Bell with my wife, I don't know, a week after. I'd never had Taco Bell as a non-smoker. I know this sounds like it's a stupid little anecdotal thing, but we came home, I took a couple bites and I'm like, this tastes like crap. Well, I always thought Taco Bell was good.
You didn't like it?
And then and then I'm looking at her and she's saying the same thing. And I'm like, oh, we quit smoking. This stuff is crap. Sorry, Taco Bell, but she still loves them, and I just, my
But you know
taste
what?
buds.
Just because you don't like it doesn't mean there's not 20 billion other
Yeah.
people who won't love it. So
Yeah.
it's the same thing with our flavors. God forbid if the FDA has their way, which they're going to,
Yep.
they're going to, and if you get Chuck Schumer and you get Dick Durbin and Dick Blumenthal, and we have to talk about them every week because they're becoming even more bigger penises than they were last week.
Including Boxer. Yep. Okay.
Including and Boxer. And now every day we're distracted with all of the news media that comes out. Nobody's going to care about vaping because, we got Whoopi Goldberg and Judge Jenny or whatever her name was. You heard about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
It's silly.
all the rants going on. And then there's this new scholar that says pedophilia is an unchangeable sexual orientation and should be accepted by society.
Oh God.
Did
I
you
missed,
hear that?
no,
Yeah.
I didn't. I missed that
was
one.
just yesterday. Yeah. They're saying that pedophilia is an unchangeable sexual orientation.
Really?
So this is what's being touted in schools, and of course, then you got also the gender thing. There's gender neutral and gender fluidity and binary. I don't know. I can't keep up with it.
Right.
And then you hear that there's countries that we just talked about, the 10, 11, 12, 13 countries that have millions and millions of smokers, and like Bahrain just slapped a 100% tax on e-liquids with no formal announcement. They just did it. 100% tax on e-liquids, not cigarettes, just e-liquids. Because what's happening is that people are finding through the World Health Organization, it's going to be banned anyway. Okay, so now it's going underground. So now they're figuring they're going to be able to tax it because they'll force people back to smoking. The trillions and trillions of cigarettes, 17 trillion cigarettes were smoked last year. There's just so much going on distraction-wise that it always reminds me of what I hope for when I do a show like this, or I'm on a show like this, or I've been a guest on other people's show, is that we can, get people to at least think a little bit for themselves and say, hey, you know what? This is worth investigating. This is worth understanding. Here's a guy, the Winston man, worked for R.J. Reynolds, enticed, encouraged, lured kids to smoke. We know that they lied. We know that they're guilty. We know that we can hold them accountable. We can fine them. We get billions of dollars coming in. And then all of the bad people, and I'm talking about Chuck Schumer and Dick Durbin, and all these people are sending letters now to the FDA to make them hurry up and rule on the flavoring and the nicotine and ban it, and just for the sake of kids. Yeah.
At the same time that they're wanting to ban flavors, I'm going to say this really slow. They want lower nicotine in cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
How ironic is that? So you want more smoking, but you want less not smoking. The
other side of the coin on that, Kevin and Steve, is that if you get less nicotine, you're going to smoke more.
Yeah, you are.
You're going to pay more money.
Yeah, you are.
And everything that they're doing strategy-wise, these people are not dumb people. The only people that are dumb are the people that believe in them as our leaders, and these are the ones who are looking out for our health and our welfare, and they're not. They don't care. They don't give a damn.
They don't care.
They never did. And I've been saying this since 1988 when I quit smoking and I came out against R.J. Reynolds. And the funny thing about what's happening now with the industry, the vaping industry, and we still keep having people in media. We talked about that Tiffany Chan who said that the building caught fire. Oh, it had chlorine or something. It was an e-liquid manufacturing.
Right. Yeah.
It was all lies.
Yeah.
Everything you do, like the 14-year-old boy you were talking about.
Yeah.
And of course, the Chinese pilots who got fired because they were vaping. And it must be the vaping's fault. It must be the e-liquid fault. It must be the e-cigarette fault because we're a bunch of a-holes that don't know any better.
That's why
I'm pretty sick of it.
That's why Whoopi spit on what's her name because of the e-cigarette. It was within a mile. So that's what happened.
And then of course the other people, Anna Navarro, who really hates Trump, and she wasn't supposed to be there when that judge went on to talk about her book about liberation or liberals and everything. And I've never watched The View, so I can't even tell.
I don't either.
I used to like Whoopi Goldberg in Sister Act, and I liked her in Color Purple, and I thought she was good. But now she's like Rosie O'Donnell. They just go off in the deep end, and we don't have enough people with a pair of balls to stand up to them.
Nope.
Female or male, except me, I will do it.
Yep.
But nobody cares.
I will.
And all I can tell you is that when people don't care about something, it makes it very hard for people who are making money, like the leaders in our industry. And I'm going to talk real honest here, Kevin.
Okay.
The people who are making money, the manufacturers of e-liquid, the distributors of e-liquid and devices and hardware, those who box up different starter kits, they're making a lot of money.
Yeah.
And the ones who are suffering are the ones who depends on those people to get their product out there, because distribution is key right now. Because nobody can afford to warehouse lots and lots of e-liquid in their own shops because they're going to have to pay taxes on it.
Yeah.
At the vape shop level. And
Right.
we only have through vape shops right now, Kevin, 1.1 billion vapors who buy their stuff in a vape shop. We have 1.7 who buy it in a convenience store, like a 7-Eleven or a Wawa or whatever stores you have out there.
Yeah.
And the rest is online sales or shows. You go to these shows, which why we have so damn many of them, and I got 3 that I have to go to and I want to go to because I have liquids that I want to, find distributors for. But I can't find a distributor who wants to take anything on with the kind of celebrity I have, the hook that I have with a quality premium liquid for
Right.
vaping, and as well as CBD, which is a totally different magical product. When people who are quitting smoking, as I've said, and I'll repeat it again, smokers, when they quit, generally aren't healthy in other areas of their life. So why not try to kill two birds with one stone, with products that are going to make you feel good. And if you're coming off of opiates, if you're coming off of cancer and chemotherapy, and you got to have the passion that I have for CBD. And that's why I partnered with Pinnacle, because they have the same passion that I do, and they know that it is a tobacco harm reduction product. And that does not mean you have to be a smoker to use CBD. Now, there's people who never smoked a cigarette in their life, but they still have issues. So these shows that I'm talking about and I'm bitching about, and a couple people have said, we can't have shows every month. It costs too much money. Well, it does. It costs a fortune to ship your booths and all of your product and your employees and get to an airplane and get UPS to ship your huge 10 by 20 or 20 by 20 booth there. Then you got to get to an expensive hotel, and then you got an after party, and then you got to go eat and eat three times. It's then the bar tabs and everything else. I mean, how much money could we save, and if we put it into activism, and put it into public relations?
Right.
And we're not. I guess NBS, Not Blowing Smoke, and Stefan Dydek is a PR type of a firm out there in California. And I think Stefan has some good concepts and good ideas, and I have no problem with him, working with RJ Reynolds when they were taking 12 or 13 million dollars from RJ Reynolds. I have absolutely no problem with that at all. I'm not being an a-hole.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I don't like big tobacco, but I also know I believe in the philosophy, keep your friends close and your enemies closer, like Derek Yak is doing with the Foundation for a Smoke-Free World.
Yep.
So I'm not going to be one of these, one-sided, my way or no way, or the highway.
Right.
So I'll take whatever comes our way that will help people understand, which is why my show is not going to be running on vape radio, because the people who listen to vape radio are already the choir. They don't need to know. We need to reach another audience through sponsorships with people who want to put some money in this and help me get to a global market, with the exception of Canada, because I don't want to go anywhere near Canada. I don't want my liquids in Canada. I don't want my name mentioned in Canada. I don't like Canada.
Yeah.
I like the people. I just don't like the rules and their regulations and their new laws, based around cannabis now taking a front seat to vaping.
Right.
Okay. And the vaping that was doing really well up there for the people who are wanting to quit is just now going to be, thrown under the bus as usual.
Yeah.
So I'm going to work on problems that I have a solution for here in the U.S. And if I have to do it myself with 4 or 5 sponsors, including Pinnacle and Vapes Gone Wild and you, and we get a couple bucks that we can get this into the iTunes and get it downloaded and get people to talk about it.
Yeah.
And I can only tell you that Pinnacle is my sponsor, and Vapes Gone Wild are the only 2 people. And David Holmes from Unique E-Cigarettes, who gave me a shot last year. Those are the only 3 people who put any investment in me at all, because they believed in what I'm doing. And I'm hoping that there's more out there, and hoping there's more people who will say, hey, we haven't even started doing what we can do with David G, modelcitizen.com, with Kevin Crowley's knowledge and Steve Matz's ability to get this produced, and my encouragement of people to get all the information that's truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yep.
So I think we made some progress, and we got some good followers, and I'm meeting with people this month after my surgery. I'm having my colon surgery on the 31st of July. People may not hear from me for about a week or 2, but you can pick up where I left off, Kevin, if you want to. Otherwise, wait for me.
I can do that.
I don't want to do this from a hospital bed, but they're going to take a bunch of my colon out, and hopefully I won't have diverticulitis anymore. I can sit here and eat my cashews and my peanuts without having an attack.
Yes.
And then tomorrow I have my heart catheterization, and I don't know if this is going to air on Tuesday like we try to do every week, or Wednesday, but tomorrow's the 24th, and I'm having my heart cath to make sure that the blockage is not there, so I can be cleared for my upcoming.
Tomorrow's 23rd.
Tomorrow's the 23rd?
Yeah.
Okay, so whenever this show airs, I think it may be on the 25th. I will have already had it, and hopefully I will be back on the computer telling people that I'm alive and well. And
at least just email me or thumbs up me somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think here's what we're going to need to do. We need to get the people who are listening to understand 3 things, and that is who I am, where I came from, and why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And I think we've already explained that. Your knowledge and your ability to gather information, gather data, research it, make sure it's vetted properly and it is truly fact and not fake news.
Yeah.
Which we never talk about anyway because we don't do fake news.
Everything we do is, whether it's good or bad, I'm going to tell you what the truth is, what I find.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Just like I told you about, I have no, as much as I hate big tobacco,
Yeah.
If PMI wants to give $1 billion, okay,
Yeah.
to Derek Yack and the Foundation for a Smoke-Free World, my first thought was, what the hell could go wrong with that? What a conflict of interest. But then I got the facts as I needed from Clive Bates and from Oliver Kershaw and from Constantino Farsallonis and from all the other people who say, hey, Dave, he's not going to let Philip Morris International take him over and railroad.
Right.
So I believe that. And I think whatever
anything that they put out can be verified by anybody else. And that's what they're complaining about. And it's false that they're under the guise of a tobacco company.
Yeah. And I'm all for that. And I believe that 1 billion lives is just a small percentage of who I am.
Right.
I know I had good 30 minutes in it, but I would love to do a documentary over in Australia with my friend Paul over there in Australia.
Yeah.
I can't pronounce Blamire or Blamir. I forget how to pronounce his last name.
Not sure.
He's just a rebel. He's just somebody that he's got the vape lab over there, or LabWorks it's called. But they have to get nicotine on a 3-month supply for your own usage. You can't put it in and sell it,
Right.
But New Zealand, you can. New Zealand retracted their law where now vaping is legal in nicotine. So they have to get some of their nicotine from New Zealand. But the tariffs, just like the tariffs on the Chinese, what we have with Trump, a lot of people are bitching about that now, that Trump, in the China tariff.
Yeah.
On the e-liquids or the e-cigarettes rather, because 95% is made in China.
Yeah.
It's going to affect the costs of, how many freaking devices do we need? Here you go.
Exactly.
See, people are going to say, well, no, we don't have any innovation anyway, because you're not allowed to make anything new anyway, because of August 16th, 2016.
Yeah.
Or whatever that date was, August 8th, 2016.
National Tobacco Day.
Right. And August, whatever day was,
August 8th.
when you had to have everything registered, you could not come up with anything innovative or new.
And they still do. They still do.
They still do. So if we're worried
stupid.
about the stuff coming in, stick with what you got.
Yeah.
Okay. And maybe cut back. And this is again where people get pissed off at me. Well, you're not sponsoring all the shows. I don't want to go to the shows and just be a pole dancer to entertain. I want people to be educated. We had a good show in Chattanooga. I mean, you talk about Vape Carnival. I mentioned it before. 3 of the greatest guys. They gave back a lot of money. I think they gave like 1,800 to THR for life.
Yep.
And they gave
they
the
did.
other 5 out. And because I went down there and I did some advocacy and activism for them, and I asked them to please donate. They said, "Where do you want us to give some of the money to?" And I said, "Well, of course, Kevin Price." And the people at THR for life. And that's before when I resigned. I was on the board because I wanted to do these kinds of shows.
Yeah.
And THR for life couldn't have the conflict of interest because of the kind of a business they were. But that still doesn't mean that I don't love what you guys are doing and advocacy, and you should be rewarded and you should have funds to work with. So, but they're the ones that really, really had me sold down there because they gave everybody the opportunity. Aspire did too, with the Breeze too, giving starter. I think we got 275 people to quit smoking that day, and they walked away with free juice and the starter kit from Breeze to Aspire.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to do. I want to get my name and my picture on every device possible, and then give them either my liquid or somebody else's liquid that's going to be good as a starter liquid for new transitioning smokers to vaping.
Yeah.
Because vapors, when they quit, don't want to jump into rainbow sherbet. They want something that their palate is going to adjust to slowly, and then they can change it. But really, how many devices do we need?
Oh my God, Dave. No.
And after 2022, we're going to be back probably to the pod system, before the 2007 predicate date.
Cigalikes and pods are what's going to end up being. And it's going to be menthol.
Tobacco.
Yeah, menthol and tobacco. Yeah.
Yep. And the thing is that, people have to be ready for that because it's coming. Juul will sell out by the end of the year. And now the numbers keep going up. And the more we mention it, the more their numbers go up.
Yeah.
That's why they're just now in United Kingdom.
I'm concerned about that because the tobacco product, what is it? TPD. I forget the D.
Tobacco Product
Directive. I was saying derivative. they only allow 20 milligram of nicotine.
10.
No, 20.
Oh, 10 mil bottles. Yeah.
10 mil bottle. Yeah, 10 mil bottles.
Right.
You got to buy 100 bottles instead of one.
Right.
And you got
then they
20.
got then they got the short fills. They got all the things. They got back doors to everything over there.
Yeah.
Which is fine because I think that's another stupid law. But they did it for the children because if they only get 10,
of course
10 milliliter bottles and the child gets a hold of it, it won't be as damaging as a 120
Right.
milliliter chubby bottle.
Well, if there's a journalist around, it might be worse. If you have you said the other day there are not journalists, they're opinionists. I wanted to make that point.
Yeah, well, they are. I mean,
they are.
When you talk to a journalist, they usually get their information. They get their information from their go-to sources, which are normal. You usually have a press secretary for a big company like Philip Morris or R.J. Reynolds. Campaign for Tobacco Free Kids has public relations people. Millions of dollars are being spent on their public, and we can't get gas money to go out there and try to raise the level of awareness with a town meeting. And there are some people who are trying. Some of these state organizations, like Florida State, Smoke Free in Tennessee, that has done a fantastic job, but they don't get any help. They get 30, 40 members, and the rest of the state, like we always say, every show, every time, it's like diarrhea of the mouth. 3% of the people doing 100% of the work. And it's very, very frustrating that we have to do this day after day after day, week after week after week, and then we still don't make the progress that I think we should be making just by being loud.
I'll mention Juul one more time just because I love to say their word or adjective or verb. There's a lady in here in Dayton, Ohio, Channel 7. Kara Driscoll had a poll a couple weeks ago. Do you think, the question on Twitter, do you think juuling and e-cigarettes will lead to more teens becoming regular cigarette smokers? And I thought, well, that's awfully cute, Kara. So I ran one with her. She got 86 as a no and 14% thought yes. Mine was more biased because I have more vapors, but mine was 94% no and 6% said yes. But I offered her, I'm in Dayton, Ohio. You can call me, you can talk to me, but I didn't get a phone call. I'm starting to feel like you. They don't want to talk to me.
Well, people don't want to talk to me because they're afraid that I'm going to put them into a corner and embarrass them, which I should do if I'm right and they're wrong.
Yes, you should.
You shouldn't have to take sides when the truth is so obvious. No. Okay. And the third stage, again, I'm going to repeat this until it becomes so obnoxious and arrogant. The 3 stages of truth. First, it is ridiculed. Yeah. Like it was with vaping from 2009 to 2014. And then it's violently opposed like we're seeing it now. Everybody's against it except those who are successful with it and quitting smoking and living longer and feeling better. How dare they? Yep. And then it's finally accepted as proven to be evidently true. And therefore we will embrace it, but we will take over. Yeah. And vaping will come back as a cessation product under the guise of this coalition between Philip Morris, R.J. Reynolds, Lorillard running the vaping community, along with Campaign for Tobacco Free Kids and Truth Initiative, because they will go in cahoots with them, and they will continue to get and reap the benefits for education to show on paper that we have got to continue the research. I mean, how much more research do we need when you got 7 of the top tobacco experts are telling the FDA to back off? Yep. And we named their names. We named them tonight. We named all these top 7. Either call them a liar or listen to them and do what they suggest, because they're a lot more effective as far as I'm concerned than Matt Myers, who's only an attorney, and Cliff Douglas, who was only an attorney, and Stanton Glantz, who's only a freaking engineer, and all these, same thing with Simon Chapman over in Australia. He's a professor. He's not a doctor. Yep. Yes, he works for public health, but he's not a doctor. He's now banning all these guys and ladies who are trying to get, Australia back on the map with, e-liquids and e-cigarettes so people can quit smoking, like we saw with that poor guy, Vince, who lost his home. And, and it's just so ridiculous and it's so maddening. And as I've told everybody, to me, a life sentence is no longer that much of a deterrent for me at 68 years of age. I can say what I want. And if people like it, fine. If they don't like it, turn me off and go do something else and just shut the hell up and leave us alone when we're trying to do good work for people who can't help themselves because they have been so dog, dog kicked like a dog. They kick down. They're lepers. They're losers. They're no good on society.
Demoralized.
They're pedophiles. Yes,
Yeah.
and they're frustrated and demoralized. So screw you. I'll go to my grave because nobody's going to tell me what to do. And that's how I felt for a long time.
Yeah.
So, as I tell people in my rants, I don't rant a whole lot anymore, as you can see. I keep my mouth shut, except for Canada. I don't like. And Chuck Schumer in Canada.
Yeah, Chuck Schumer.
Those are the two things that piss me off right now. And then you get the Canadian people who are so worried about Trump. We live north. Shut the hell up. Shut your pie hole. Go worry about your guy Trudeau. He's no lily white either. So I'm not going to worry about things that I don't have a solution for. I'm going to worry about things that I can expose.
Yep.
Get listeners to say, hey, let's get some guests on. Let's talk to them with an open phone line. Get a discussion going. But it's hard to do that because I'm not Rush Limbaugh. I'm not Mark Levin. I'm not Sean Hannity. I'm not Al Franken. I all I am is somebody who has an opinion based on fact. Okay, because this is what I'm telling people is based on what I lived, I saw, I heard.
Decades.
I lived it for decades. So I do have a point to make, and I'm going to do it on my podcast with you and with Steve and anybody else that wants to support what we're trying to do to get the word out there. So I think tonight with the Pinnacle, who's always been in my corner since day one, and Vapes Gone Wild with my e-liquid David G signature series. And hopefully I'll be having a device which I can wrap around, put my name on to convince people to start trying it in the form of a starter kit.
Yeah.
We may be able to put something together there to make some money and get some sponsors. Okay. Cause I'm not Smoke Free Radio. And I don't have 30 sponsors, that we can talk about every week. I'm going to have 4 or 5 select sponsors who want to pay us to do what we do to get the word out. And that's the part of advocacy and activism that I want to be a part of.
Yep.
Okay. Not going out and selling, 100 different kinds of mods and devices, which I'm not indicting. I'm not saying, do all you want, but that's not what I'm going to do. So I think that's why there's Baskin and Robbins with how many flavors? 32,
31, 34, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. You be you and I'll be me, and Steve can do what he does. He's just a young punk anyway.
He's awfully quiet tonight.
He's awfully quiet.
So what do you think, Steve? I'll ask you this instead of David. You're not an outsider, but you're different viewpoint. So now I've got a blog a while back called Pavlov's Dog. So ding. Right. Vaping's bad in 07. You got the seizures from the FDA. They want it out of here. Now think bath salts for just a brief second, and I'll move on. Now you've got the American body parts. American Cancer saying, well, it's better, but you got Truth Initiative saying better, but then they're all saying taxes, regulation, flavors are bad. How do you perceive that?
I mean, from everything I've seen, it seems to be that they always have some other interest in making that statement, which is pretty clear, whether, money from God knows who, big tobacco, big pharma, etc. So I'm always someone who's skeptical about that sort of thing, and typical millennial to be skeptical of that sort of thing, I guess you would say.
Okay.
So, I mean, in my personal thoughts on those individual matters, I mean, everyone I've been able to talk to in a personal life has had massive benefits from quitting smoking or using vaping as a form to quit smoking. I don't think flavors are bad. I mean, how could they be bad? I mean, marketing them to kids is bad, but
right.
If we're taking a health stance, it seems like the terrible hill to die on. And me personally, all the stuff we're preaching, it seems to be a no-brainer. But if it really was that in reality, we wouldn't be doing this podcast. Right. So I don't really know what the answer is, but and I don't like to pretend I'm smarter than anyone else. But I mean, some of this stuff just seems like come on,
it's obvious. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when you've been doing it like I have for 30 years, it is a no-brainer. It's been a no-brainer because I'm the one who lived it. I'm the one that saw it and heard it and talked about it. So it's not suspicion. It's not speculation. It's not what I heard, as far as from somebody else third hand. I lived it. I know what they're capable of doing, which is what's so infuriating with this industry that I love so much, the vaping industry. I really do. I really love this industry, and I love the people who I've met. Most of them. There's some people I wouldn't give you, a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of, but that's okay because I'm not going to love everybody, and they're not going to love me. Yeah. But this industry has so much to offer with so many good,
A
wonderful
lot of good people.
a lot of good people, and they're just missing the boat because we haven't had any unity, and there's been no unification. And you got people who are fighting the Safada people and trying to take over state organizations through VTA, and then they'll deny it, and then CASA's getting the help that they need through, even though they're the consumer group, and then you got of course Safada, which is your trade association, and is supposed to do the lobbying, and
Yeah.
everybody's confused. Nobody knows what the hell we're talking
Yeah.
about. Nobody wants to discuss the problems we
And
have.
they're-
And here's the problem. These people who are the leaders, this is what I was leading up to when we started this, and that's how we're going to end the show tonight. The leaders of our industry, and I'm not talking about BTA, AVA, CASA, SAFADA, NBS. These are people who have been here from the beginning, including Julie and Greg
Yeah.
and Alex Clark, and and Tony came in 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, and they're all good people. They're lawyers. A lot of them are lawyers. Okay,
Very smart
They're not
people. Extremely
and
smart.
the people who I'm talking about, the Five Pawns, the Naked, all the other people who have put lots and lots of money and lots of time.
Yeah, Naked
They
just
followed
did
the rules.
another 50,000 to CASA. Just
I
to
know,
throw it out there.
But these are the people. Let me tell you, these are the people who got in right at the right part of the wave, the crest.
Yeah.
And they did the right thing by keeping their business, doing 100% of the right thing to do. They didn't do 50% and then shirk off to save money. They put the money where their mouth is. They did their job. Ron Peoples from Bad Motherfogger, just the sweetest guy in the world, and I'd like him to be a part of what we're doing here because he knows people, and there's people all over the country and the world, that respect certain people. But here's the problem: the people I'm talking about now, and I'm not saying everybody's going to do this, but a lot of them, a lot of the people whose names I didn't mention tonight, they are wealthy. They're making lots of money, and they're lining up to sell to the highest bidder
Right.
when it comes along.
Right.
That's what they're doing. Okay, and it's going to happen. So what are we trying to save an industry for? To give it to the big tobacco companies? I'm not going to do that.
Right.
I'm not going to spend my time trying to save an industry, by doing what they want me to do when I know they're doing it wrong, in my opinion. Okay,
Yeah.
and no one's wanted to talk to me about it, so I can share my opinion. So this is the only platform I have to tell people who may want to listen or may get tweaked by saying, "Hey, what's he talking about?" And maybe wants to learn more, so they'll listen next
And
time.
they'll call in.
So
Yeah.
they'll not fall in line and step with me. I'm not looking at anybody to goose step with me.
Yep.
I just want them to be tweaked. I want
Yep.
them to look, the ears perk up and say, "What the hell are we doing?" Because these people, I'm telling you, in this industry, all they're doing is they're trying to get more and more of, market share. So when the time comes, they're going to be in line with the highest bidder to come in and take them over. So you and I and Steve and the other people on Smoke Free Radio and people like Mike Peterson and Demetrius, everybody wants to make money. Okay, but they're in line now to do this, and we're saving an industry so they can turn it back over to the very people that I left and started with back in 1988 when I quit smoking. Come on,
Mhm.
I'm not going to play that game. So that's what this show's about, different than any other show out there, because we're not reviewing liquids, we're not reviewing devices, and that's not the audience that we're going after, because they're already the choir. I've said it 3 times already tonight, and I'll say it again. We need the people who want to quit smoking, who want to learn more about the industry, who want to feel that what they decided to do is going to be safe, with reasonably regulated, reasonably taxed, quality premium liquids that, when ingested, are not going to destroy your body.
And that will work.
And make it affordable.
That work.
And that will work.
And
that works.
And David, I'm telling you, and I already know you know this, and Steve may or may or not, I don't know if he knows or not, I wouldn't be here if we weren't thinking of the consumer first, period. There's no way. No way.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, and again, it's not an indictment of the people who have built, they 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, in 2010, 11, 12,
Yeah.
people started putting 15, 20 grand of their life savings, building a little shop, starting a brick and mortar, putting, making juice in their lab next to the urinal in the bathroom. Like they call it the lab, and putting a premium label on it, premium e-liquid, for $1. Some for that $10. Then we got the quality stuff coming in from California. I mean, really good quality stuff from the iOS 5, 6, 7 labs.
Yeah.
That were, that were sanitized, and they were doing it right. And these are the people who did
Like-
really quite
Like
well.
Johnson.
Creek.
Yep, Johnson Creek is one of them.
Johnson Creek
Yeah.
at the very beginning.
Huge.
And then it just took off. And no other industry has grown exponentially like the vaping industry has in 8 years, 9 years.
No.
So with that being said, some people have made a lot of money.
And good for them. Absolutely.
And good for them. And they are sharing it. And a lot of them are sharing it, but not everybody. And that's what
somebody you've met a couple times, I think, and ran around with was James Jarvis, is somebody in Columbus who I admire beyond belief.
I love him.
Yeah.
I love James. He brought me out there to go to some stores, and and we couldn't get a whole lot of people out there because it was raining in Cincinnati, and I got to go Cincy Vapors. And James is good people. I mean, these are all good, wonderful people who've put their life, the last 7-8 years to build something and for the community as well as their employees. And same thing with Trent Struck down at Vapes Gone Wild, and his crew. He's got with the one huge store down there, and he's grown, but he took me off the streets because he believed in what I was doing as a consumer advocate,
keeping you out of jail.
Keeping me well. And then of course Kevin Lacey from Pinnacle CBD, which I can't thank him enough. And again, I keep going back to David Holmes.
Yeah.
I don't talk about him enough. Unique e-cigarettes out of Syracuse. He hired me a year ago, and he gave me a chance to do some wholesaling for him. But that's right when everybody was so overwhelmed with liquids and saturated with it, nobody wanted to take on another line. Especially when it was so localized. He was only making liquids for his 11 stores, so we were trying to expand. But that's when I was trying to get it in with Giant distribution, and OPMH and Troy LeBlanc and E-Cig Gallery and Canby, but nobody wanted. They already had too much on the shelf that they couldn't get rid of, and the shelf life is only a year and a half, 2 years anyway.
Yep.
So, he gave me a shot though, and I failed him because I'm not a salesman.
Yep.
I'm a people person, and I'm going to educate. I'm going to do what I do best. You do what you do best. Steve does what he does best in production,
Yep.
and then we're going to get these sponsors to put a couple bucks into our pockets so we keep this show going, and go into UK, go into Spain, go into Germany, go down South America,
Australia.
wherever.
Australia's really screwed.
I'm going to do the Australian documentary. I'm trying to do some fundraising now to get me over to Sydney and Perth and take on Simon Chapman.
Good.
And because he's retired now, he's now just doing this.
He's retired, but he still runs his mouth. Are you going to be with Dr. Denko at all?
Oh, Tilo Danko. Yeah. Well, they're talking about it now. I talked to Paul from Australia last week, and we're supposed to talk again this weekend.
Okay.
I would love to do a documentary over there, and like I did 10 years ago or 12 years ago when Simon Chapman brought me over there.
Yeah.
He owes me money because he was taking me out to dinner and I had to pay for it because he forgot his wallet.
You might not be blocked. Tell him you're coming on Twitter. Tell him you're coming and see if he blocks you.
Oh, he blocked Paul. He blocked Paul from every social media over there. So, and Paul is just the sweet guy at LabWorks. And
he emailed us the other day.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he sent us an email through the website.
Yeah, well, he and I were going to talk, and he's just he doesn't give a shit what people think about him either.
Simple Simon Chimpman. That's who it is.
Yeah, he's got to do what he's got to do, and I told him I'm going to help him, and that's what I would love to do. Just like New Zealand retracted their law and they changed it and they went back to making it legal, and we got to do the same thing in Australia, and we will. But it's going to take time, but it's going to take some money, and it's going to take people who give a damn, So let's just keep doing our show the way we are. Let's keep talking about it. Let's keep creating a little controversy that maybe just enough to tweak people to say, hey, what the hell's going on? Maybe I should get involved.
Yeah.
Because if I get a chance to talk, on a good show where I don't run the diarrhea of the mouth and you guys could keep me focused, which is why we don't really need to do that now because we're still building an audience. We're still building a following because we don't know what people don't know yet. We want to know what they don't know. We want them to email us. We want them to tell us what's interesting to them. But I'm not going to shortchange anybody by pussyfooting around and sugarcoating it. It is what it is. And we got to do that for the American people as well as the other vapors out there to get them excited. So
it's worldwide.
Next week, let's get the show on the air as soon as we can. And let's plan on doing this every Tuesday or Wednesday night. if that's good for everybody. And then we'll get a following on a consistent level. And I can't thank you both enough for being a part of this and helping me, vent and get my word out there. And I look forward to working with you guys for a long, long time.
Yep, absolute pleasure.
Of course. And we've got a pretty good following so far for how little promotion we've been doing. And I know there's a site or two that have linked to us, and we don't know who you are. If you want to tell us so we can give you guys a shout out, we'd appreciate it.
Yep.
But just so we can
please do.
keep the relationship going, because we had some spikes that came from somewhere, and I don't know where. So please tell me.
And also,
shoot us an email
again,
or reach Dave on Instagram. There's a contact form on the website. The email address is also davidgpodcast@gmail.com.
And don't forget Pinnacle CBD. The David G 5 flavor series is available at www.pinnaclecbd.com and vapesgonewild.com, where you get the David G e-liquid line of tobacco flavor, coffee flavor, and tropical paradise, which is a very nice, subtle, fruity flavor. But Cheatin' Death is your tobacco flavor. That's a kind of a play on words, Cheatin' Death. And Dreamland is my coffee.
The coffee is my favorite, and Dreamland's good.
Yep. I like them both. Tobacco and is good too. But if you're interested in looking up, trying it, give them a call. Go online and order it from them. And I really want to thank Pinnacle and Vapes Gone Wild for giving us a shot to support what they're doing, and they support us as well. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Talk to you
All
soon.
right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night.